Like, no judgment. I like to be comfortable. I like to not stretch myself. It feels good to be lazy. And it's not even lazy sometimes. It's just like I'm rewarding myself. Like I worked my ass off. I just want to sit here for a minute. Um, but here's the thing, like if you want to get to the next level, which most of us do, like most of us are trying, like we want to be better, right? It's going to require more effort and more discipline. So we fill the time allowed with busy work instead of productive work. But I want to ask you, are you a business owner or a busyness owner? There's a difference. Business or busyness, all right? And it's not really not easy to spot the difference in a lot of cases. Sometimes you're like, am I being busy or productive? I don't know. Like, what's the difference? Like, can you give me a chart that shows me? And that's not always true, but what will tell you is if you look back 6 months ago, have you significantly advanced personally, your relationships, your business? Like it doesn't have to be everything. You're not like a superhero in 6 months, but if you're not progressing significantly in the last 6 months, then it's probably a good indicator that you're doing too much busy work instead of productive work. Okay. To me, busy work is like research, going to conferences, listening to podcasts. I mean, not lighting for profits, that one doesn't count, but it really is. It's like the learning, right? And it's not that busy work is bad, it's just not going to move the needle. It's just going to keep you existing, keep you content where you're at, but you need to move up, you need to level up. Okay. So productive work is implementing the things you were busy with. So if you went to a conference, then what are you going to implement to be productive? If you're going to listen to a podcast, what are you going to implement to make it productive? So the top of my chart, at least, is like sales and marketing. Okay. Uh, Increasing your number of quality leads. These are like measurable things. So how many leads did you get last week? If you got 2 leads last week, then this week, like you need to be intentional and get productive on how are you going to get 4. That is your productive task. Like get shit done, figure out how to go from 2 to 4. Closing deals on the spot. How many did you close on the spot last week? 0? Well, then get 1. Just try to get 1 this week. That's being productive. Okay. So it takes first being aware of the fact that you're experiencing this Parkinson's law, that it exists, and then getting the disciplined intention behind it. So I want to share with you real quick before we have Dan join us. That I put together this busy framework, BUSY, B standing for. And by the way, if you have not used ChatGPT, I threw in all this like my thoughts, ideas, my scrambled thing. I say, help me create a framework that people will remember to implement this busy framework, because I want to give you guys something that you can utilize and remember. So busy is be aware of the law. Just knowing that this thing exists, that work expands to fill the time available, is useful, because now that you're aware of it, you know that you don't have to give yourself so much time, because if you do, you're going to waste time. So the first step is definitely awareness. Be aware. You understand the trap. Humans procrastinate and overcomplicate things. You know this. Too much time leads to these rabbit holes, analysis paralysis, perfectionism. Okay, that's a common trait amongst entrepreneurs. Um, you're likely doing enough to stay busy, but not enough to grow, right? So that's the problem. Like doing the busy work feels good, right? It like checks that box for us. So understand that it is a trap, and you got to be intentional about productive activities versus busy activities. So be aware. You understand the trap. S, shift from busy to productive. Busy are those kind of learning activities and research. Productive is doing. So you're going to shift from learning and research and, well, what's the next secret? What's the next thing? Like just take action. That's productive. Again, busy work feels good, but it doesn't move the needle. Productive work is uncomfortable. So when you feel that resistance, you're like, oh, maybe that's a good indicator I'm doing something right here. And then why? I couldn't figure out anything else, but this is what chat came up with. Your back must be against the wall. It started with why. So technically it's true. Um, your back literally must be against the wall, because urgency drives clarity and results. Okay. So stop giving yourself so much time. Like create intentional urgency. Wake up like you're broke. Okay. And some of you are like, no, I literally just did. But wake up like you're broker. Set real deadlines and outcome driven goals. Okay. So finally, if you haven't progressed significantly in the last 6 months, chances are you've been living too comfortably doing the busy stuff. So stop getting ready to get ready. and let's take some action, start producing the results with disciplined intention. All right, guys. So apply the busy framework. I want to see you guys crush it. I want to see you get to the next level. And it takes this disciplined intention, understanding that chances are you're wasting a lot of time that you don't need to. Give yourself shorter timelines to complete tasks, and you'll find yourself being much more productive, and you'll be running a business instead of being a busyness. All right. It's time to get our guest on. Let me know if you guys are ready. If you have questions and you're here live, that's cool. Let's ask Dan. Let's go. Welcome to the show, Mr. Dan Plata.
Oh, baby. Hey, nice looking
Wow.
nice looking shirt.
Yeah, man, you look so good today. I don't know what it is.
It's probably the light coming in
Yeah.
off the
lake.
It's all about lighting. It's about lighting.
This is the first time ever this has happened where we're just twinning it up, dog.
Very unintentionally, but I did tell you before we jumped on that the only alternative I had was I was topless because I had just like went for a run. Then I mowed the yard before the in-laws came over. And then I jumped in the pool because, it's 82 degrees in Minneapolis for no good reason in early May. And so I still am standing here in wet shorts. But aside from that, I do have to quick say that I have a cure for Parkinson's. But the one that you were talking
Disease?
about, no, not that one. That's way out of my league, man. But did you say it was like the Parkinson's rule? There's a different part.
Well, it's the Parkinson's law. There's probably a rule.
There might be a rule too, but there's the law, there's the disease. Who knows if it was actually the same Parkinson?
We should look into that because it would be
the same guy.
That'd be fascinating.
Could have been the same gal. I don't even know if it was a guy. I don't know why I assumed it was a guy.
Mrs. Parkinson's.
Could have been Mrs. Parkinson. But strangely enough, I was talking to a guy in the poop scooping industry a couple hours ago, and he was saying how he has like one guy that, man, miraculously, like he will either just do more or do less, and it'll take him the same amount of time, no matter how much work he has on his plate. And I was like, yeah, man, I didn't know it was called Parkinson's though. But if you pay somebody hourly, they will always make a job take as long as the amount of time that they have. You could double their route and they would still get it all done in a day. But pay per performance is a hell of a cure for that. Like once people are paid a percentage of the work instead of based on hours, then there's no need for them to sit around and make a job take any longer. So it tends to fight back against the law, the Parkinson's law, and they just get their shit done and go home.
I love it. Yeah, we should definitely talk about that. I don't want to like disappoint people and be like, well, wait a minute. You said you were going to not talk finance.
I haven't talked about bookkeeping at all yet. That's not a bookkeeping thing. It's a production rate metric thing.
Yeah. I guess I just consider anything with a number bookkeeping.
There are no other numbers. Hey, sales are numbers.
No, they're not.
Like
those are sales.
Oh, yeah, it's different numbers. They mean different things.
I was actually, it's funny. I was reading your bio.
I changed it. I changed it up a little bit.
You did? Yeah, it's pretty good. Do you care if I read it?
No, go for it. I kind of wrote it so that you would read it.
The way you wrote it, I kind of thought that. So it says Dan Plata is the nerd responsible for all other nerds at Best Damn Bookkeeping. Dan has done the corporate world thing. He spent a number of years scaling home service businesses, and now he spends his days obsessing about finances of small business owners. That definitely is nerdy. And his nights obsessing about weird stuff he could write in an intro bio to be funny. Mm-hmm. He once farted in church and cleaned out the whole pew. He just
Do you get it? The whole pew part?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
He cleaned out the whole pew.
Yeah. It's double meaning. It's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Because I said it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just wanted to make sure you caught that.
I should have emphasized the whole pew.
Yeah. The pause helps. Now I know that you know.
He just had to see if I would read this. So if you like taking your business seriously, but yourself not so much, and you like talking about business, then buckle up. Let's have some fun nerding out on business with Dan.
Yeah.
That's the
I'm
first
glad
time
you
I
read
read a
that.
bio on this, I think.
That's why I wrote it, so that you would want to read it, because who wouldn't want to read that bio? Like, bios are usually lame and everybody like checks out. So your bio's got to be not lame.
Yeah.
I mean, bookkeeping is lame. Most people check out. So you got to make it not lame. Your bio, lame. Got to make it fun.
Well, a lot of people in our community know who you are. You're actually one of our facilitators, one of our coaches in Landscape Lighting Secrets. So that's cool. But there's still a lot of people that don't know you. And I just always share the experience of when I first met you. I was at a conference and I didn't know you. And it was like 10 a.m., 9 a.m., and you were
I think it
cracking
was
a beer.
9. I think I was the second person on stage that day.
9 a.m., cracking a
Mhm.
beer. And I was like, isn't he supposed to be in charge? Isn't he supposed to like teach us something right now? But I paid attention. I sat there and like took notes. So I was like, this guy is either an alcoholic or a genius or both.
I don't think Kurt Kempton actually gave me the best compliment ever, which was, Dan, I always see you with a beer in your hand, but I've never seen you drunk. And I was like, I appreciate that. That's intentional, because being drunk sucks.
Yeah.
I'd like, being an alcoholic would be awful. No thanks. But I do have a Busch Light here right now because I was thirsty and I was out mowing the yard, and then I jumped in the pool, and then I knew I was coming on here, and I figured I better koozie up this tasty Busch Light.
Well, and it was just a couple months ago. We were at Light It Up Expo. Dan was our closing keynote. I don't know if you know that, but that's what I'm calling it.
Booyah.
Back in
Sounds
the day,
badass.
keynotes used to end the thing. I thought,
Yeah.
didn't they? Like,
It's a bookend, man.
yeah, like Tony
Gotta
Robbins.
finish
Oh, he's
strong.
going to close the conference. Where something happened in the last couple decades where like the keynotes at 8 a.m. I'm like, most people are not
Probably we're
ready.
also ADD. They're not, yeah, they just don't expect people to stick around anymore. Everybody's so ADD they get distracted before the end of the day.
I think that's true, but not at Light It Up Expo
No, that
because
room was still full.
still full. You were our closing keynote, and you got tell everyone what you did.
Oh, I did like this wasn't there's a lot of things I do that aren't planned, but JC and Angela had a bunch of beers left from the hospitality suite that they had for a sales boost. And naturally, those beers ended up at my trade show booth, since I'm that guy that does the beer stuff. And then naturally, I'm like, what am I going to do with 2 coolers full of beer? Besides, when I get up to talk, I'm going to wheel them on in. I got the koozies, I got the bottle openers. All I need is a whole bunch of people to open their beers all at once. And so I got up on stage and I was like, before we start, doing really nerdy stuff, let's see if we can make a cool noise. Like, I'm going to count to 3 and then everybody crack open a cold one. And we did. And it was awesome. And then I walked off stage and that was it. That was the end. Done. Ain't going to get any better than that.
It was cool. I mean, you walked off stage after a badass keynote, but
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah, we did have some fun.
yeah, but everyone opening at the same time was, I think it was a world record. It wasn't official.
I don't need another plaque, man. What am I
No,
going to do with the plaque?
yeah, but it was so
Joe
cool.
said it was the loudest. It was cool. I've never done it before. It's like, I was just curious. I was just having fun. That was a blast.
I forgot we had comments. What's up, Joe Rubino?
The DeVilbers one that I totally sidetracked you with, that's me. That was me. Because you were talking about people in the world and if they're the most, humans are the most procrastinating species. And I said, at least in White Bear Lake, they sure are. And you looked at it, but you were like, who is this? And why are they typing stuff?
You're DeVilbers?
I'm DeVilbers, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did you become DeVilbers?
In college, we had a fishing comedy, not a fishing show, because that'd be amateur, not fishing videos. That's amateur. We had a fishing comedy series called The Moreshasters. DVD box set is in the fish house if you ever want to see it.
Oh,
And so, and we had a buddy named Kyle DeVillers, and he actually like was in some of the videos. He stunt doubled in one of them because my buddy Steve, I'm fishing walleyes this next weekend with Moreshaster Steve. Actually, we had a fishing team and we ran our rod and gun club at the University of Wisconsin Eau Claire, Harvard of the Midwest. And like I was president, he was vice president. We had a fishing team. We were the fishing team, and we would run tournaments on the Chippewa River, the mighty Chip. And part of the requirement to fish in one of our tournaments was you had to have an awesome team name. And we came up with the Moreshasters. and DeVilbers was what we would like call ourselves. We like in our videos, we'd be like, yo, DeVillers. And we'd be like, what's up, DeVillers? And we just kind of like, we hijacked Kyle's last name because we just thought it was a badass last name.
It is cool.
So when we created the YouTube stuff for it, I just went with, this was like 15 years ago. I went with DeVilbers in ode to our boy Kyle DeVillers. There it is.
So does the B silent sometimes?
I just threw that in there to be a smart ass.
Oh,
because that was
fair.
what we'd say after a few beers. Instead of
Oh.
DeVillers, it became DeVilbers.
That's cool. I legitimately didn't know if it was silent in Minnesota or something.
It should be. Maybe I'll just play it that way next time.
That's cool. DeVillers, DeVilbers.
That was me. That was me.
Okay.
And actually,
Jeff Hesser in the house.
Jeff Hesser's in the house. What's up, Jeff?
Yeah. I'm interested more in the fact that you said that you had a stunt double for a fishing video.
Yeah. Well, Steve was like studying abroad for a semester, and we still had to like do a tournament. So Kyle fished with me in place of Steve. So he was a stunt double.
Stunt double. Is it dangerous?
I mean, you're climbing down shorelines, right, on a river in the springtime. It can get touch and go. You don't want to fall in. The water's cold and moving. So yeah, stunt double.
Most of the time you do your own stunts. It's just everyone.
You always do your own stunts. Yeah, everybody else you always have to do your own stunts. It's just unless you're in a different country and you can't be there for the video, then the stunt double actually just replaces you for the whole video.
Interesting. Yeah, there's different terms up there in the north. The Nort.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But we caught a bunch of fish, so clearly, we had it figured out.
So you decided that or did the world decide that series wasn't going to take off, or what? Did Netflix didn't exist?
So funny conversation. Like Steve and I had a discussion as we were departing from college about if we wanted to make a go of it. It was right when YouTube was starting. And we illegally borrowed some classic rock songs in our DVDs. And so we couldn't upload them to YouTube. We would have had to re-edit them and change the music in the background. And our first ones were like, okay, kind of funny, a little too long. But by the end of it, like they were moving and they were funny and we were catching fish and they're truly like fishing comedies. And so the discussion did happen. Like, do we want to try to do this as a channel? But nobody was doing YouTube videos like that. Nobody was monetizing. And so we literally the other conversation we had was maybe we should brew beer and we'll brand Outdoorsy Beers. And that'll be it. And then that and our merchandise, we have a fucking badass logo, pardon my French, but we had like cool logos, cool videos. And so we were like, man, maybe we take the Morshaster brand and make it a beer brand and sell, like gear. And then we'll start rolling out videos. But he went back to school to become a teacher. I was in the corporate world and we live like 2 hours apart. So we just got too busy doing other stuff. So, but the conversations did happen like before being a YouTube channel like that was a thing. Like my life could look totally different right now.
Yeah.
I probably would still be doing the same shit. I'd be hunting and fishing a lot and drinking a lot of beer, but I would just be doing it, making videos for YouTube instead of sitting here making videos with you.
Yeah. It sounds like you made the right choice.
Yeah, who knows?
Mr. Beast is like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, I would support that. Like if you decided to call me one day and you're like, hey, do you want to invest in this? I'd be like, yeah.
Morshasters. That sounds like a worthwhile investment.
Yeah. I don't even need to see a business plan. I just trust the process.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys figured a thing or two out.
That's the stuff that like you watch. I mean, that's the stuff that like sells. Like people want to watch mindless stuff. They don't want to learn how to make millions of dollars. Like they just
wait till you come ice fishing. That's the only place you can watch them. I got the full box set in the fish house. It's on DVD. You can come watch it.
Can I get my private fish house?
Yeah.
I'm like seriously.
Yeah,
I can like a VIP suite.
Sure. We had 2 other ones this year. We had 3 of them out there, mine and 2 more.
All right. That's probably the only way I go in because I don't know. I get weird as I get older.
Bunch of smelly dudes farting in a fish house. You don't want to be around that. Rob Anderson got freaking like a stomach bug with Cole Sycophus and I. So Rob was like the 3 of us were in one of the fish houses and Rob spent a day hauling plastic garbage bags out of the bathroom in the front, which is mostly just a closet with a 5-gallon bucket toilet seat lid type of thing. Rob spent a lot of time in there on that one day.
I'm going to need something more luxurious. I'm bougie the older I get.
The fish houses are bougie. Like they're very
I've
bougie.
seen it. They look great, but just not I would never share a room like at BBB. People like, hey man, you sharing a room? Like, no, I'm not.
Oh, that's funny. I would prefer not to have my own room because I'm too extroverted. I'd be like, somebody's got to share this room with me.
I know. Like you've invited me, and I'm like, no, you weirdo.
No, you weirdo. Yeah. Well, I'm a weirdo. You don't even have to say the weirdo part. We all know.
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm like here talking about numbers and stuff.
All right. So you did mention pay for performance, which I do think is a great topic. Ties in nicely to Parkinson's syndrome, and what is it? Parkinson's.
No, it's the cure. It's the cure.
Parkinson's law. You cured Parkinson's disease,
at least for the technicians. For technicians, I
and the law. Yeah, Joe's in. Joe can take my spot.
Joe, yeah, you absolutely can write off the fishing trip. It's a business trip. It's only business owners. Only business owners get to come.
Joe, take my spot. And then I need recon. I need someone who's not weird to go out and just tell me like if I can handle it or not. I don't know if Joe, you might be weird. Maybe you're fine.
Joe's probably weird. He's already in.
I know.
He didn't even need to filter. Yeah, he didn't need to filter anything. He's like, I already know this is awesome.
I need someone who has questions to go on the trip.
Better questions than Joe's got. Joe doesn't need any questions.
He can still go.
Joe's right. You don't need any questions. You just go sit in a fish house, eat shitty food, drink too much, catch fish through the floor, go into the bar every once in a while, and maybe do karaoke if they got that going on.
I'm fine with half that.
Yeah.
All right. So how does someone go? They've been paying their person hourly forever. How do I start pay for performance? Do I figure out a percentage of labor that I got to be allocating to these jobs? How do I figure this out?
Yeah. So usually your books tell you, but kind of like by industry, we already know.
Don't mention books.
Yeah, that's why I'm steering more towards the per industry. We already know what the percentages should be that work in the business model. In landscape lighting specifically, it's 10% per truck. Like if you have one guy out or two guys out, they split it, or three guys, they all split it. But the truck can pay 10%. Usually you've got 30% to 35% for the supplies, materials, tools, and equipment. The 10% that you're using as like a pay per performance threshold, by the time you add in payroll taxes and training new guys and any spiffs you want to give, it's pushing 15%. So now you're 30 plus your 15, you're at 45. And that gives you like another 5% of wiggle room for fuel, merchant fees. Like we want your cost of goods sold in total to be around 50% or better. And so we know the percentage in the lighting space. Now, if you're doing holiday lights because of, year one in holiday lights, depending on your model, year one is usually expensive. Year 2, 3, 4, 5, the rest is like you're making bank. Usually you're paying like 15% for a put up or 10% for a put up and maybe 5% on the takedown. So you can afford a little bit more just because once you've bought the supplies, you get to keep using the same supplies over and over again. So the model gets a little bit different as you massage it. When you implement it though, there is a right way to implement it. Like generally, again, those are the percentages to use. When you implement it, you always take your fastest guy or your fastest crew and basically say, hey, for the next week, I'm going to calculate your normal hourly pay, but I'm also going to calculate pay based on this percentage rate. And we're going to see how much work you can do. And your paycheck has no limit, right? The more work you guys do this week, we're going to you're like, if I pay you each $2,000 this week, cool, right? There's no limit to how big your paycheck can get. It's just how much you can produce. And of course you always pick your like fastest people and your loudest people that, talk to everybody else and everybody else is watching what they're doing. Because if you just try to implement pay per performance, your crew, their mindset is generally, oh, Ryan's trying to make more money off of us, right? He's trying to pay us less. So they like view it as you're moving their cheese and they immediately assume it's a negative. And so you pull aside your fastest crew. You say, hey, like no matter what, I'm going to pay you the hourly rate. But my goal would be that this commission percentage is significantly more than what I'm paying you hourly. And so we're going to see, like, if you guys get done early, I'm going to throw another job at you, right? Like you're working till 4 or 5 every day. We're going to push it and push it and push it for a week. We're going to go as hard as we can go. And I'm going to make sure your schedule's super full. And I'm going to give you guys all the upside. If it's landscape lighting again, if you guys produce $40,000 this week, the truck's going to get $4,000. You guys each will get $2,000. Like, let's see how much you can produce in an entire week, and then you get your percentage of that, right? And so immediately that now the rest of the team sees what they did. It sets a production threshold too, by the way, because now it's like, well, now we know how much we can produce in a week, right? You can't run sprint speed all year long. We know that, right? There's a reason why 100-yard dashers only run 100 yards and don't run a mile at that pace. Is a human body, like, you can't sprint, but there's times where you can go faster. And really, like, the day of running a business is more like a 400-meter type of run, where it's like you're damn near sprinting, just not quite at the same pace as the 100-meter guy. But the team can keep up that pace. What you said earlier, though, with Parkinson is totally true, which is, man, if you give them the same amount of time to run 200 meters, they'll run 200 meters in the same amount of time that they could run 400 meters. Like, they will just use up the time in a day to produce what they need to produce. So to switch to pay per performance, using your fastest crew and like giving them the opportunity to go do it without, you can talk about it with the rest of the crew, but you got to make it like special instead of like something that you're forcing on the team. And then what happens is that crew sells everybody else on it. They all talk, right? They all know who's making what. And that crew will get everybody else on board, because everybody else is going to know these guys just made $2,000 each this week. And they're going to say, Ryan, that's not fair. Why do they get to make $2,000 this week? And then you're like, oh yeah, you want to get on pay per performance too? Yeah, definitely. Let's get you going. So that methodology for transitioning is super helpful.
Yeah, I like it. Guarantee them, like, hey, I'm going to pay you this anyway. This isn't so I can pay you less. It's actually so I can pay you more. That's genius. And then I know some business owners have been hesitant because they're like, well, they come up with excuses why it won't work. Because even though it's proven that it works, they're like, yeah, but what if? How do you handle it if they screw up because they're moving so fast now? That's like the number one thing I hear. Well, now they're going to cut corners because I agree with you, Dan. They're going to do twice as much in the same amount of time because they're going to get paid double, but now they're going to shiz up.
They will once, maybe twice if they're really stupid, which tells you that you should have fired them anyway because they're a bad employee if they don't do a good job anyway. They might try to cut a corner once, but the minute they have a callback and realize they have to spend 2 hours on their time and their dime, right? Like, if you're not charging Mrs. Jones for them to go out and reset this fixture or go rerun that wire or whatever it is that they did a half-ass job at, reposition these fixtures. If you're not charging Mrs. Jones, they're not getting commission on it. So they might be hitting this hourly minimum, but it's just eroding the commission they've spent all week building up. And so effectively they are making $0 to go out and do any touch up or redo. And man, I had one guy, Renee, he was the ultimate corner cutter. He would skip windows and stuff like that. And one day it bit him because he was out and he was fast, but we kind of like knew he was skipping some windows. And one day he was out and it was the last job of the day and he was rushing and he was trying to get to whatever he had to get to and skipped some windows. And Mrs. Jones called and Renee was 45 minutes from the shop, and he got back to the shop and he's like hustling out. And I was like, hey, Renee, you got to get back out to Mrs. Jones' house. You missed the windows on the top over here. You got to go get those done, man. And he's like, no, man, I got to go to this thing. I'm like, hey, you were out there, right? You're the one that missed them. You need to go back out there. Not today, not tomorrow, not the next day. Like, you need to go right now. And this has got to be painful for you because you need to learn to never skip another window. So yeah, you got to drive out there, and it was 45 minutes coming back. I bet it's an hour and 15 now because it's rush hour. You're not going to be back here for 3 or 4 hours. Remember that, right? Every time you think about missing a window or not double checking your work, remember that one time when it took you 4 hours on a Friday afternoon and you were trying to go hang out with your buddies, but instead you had to go back to Mrs. Jones's house because you skipped a window, right? So like, you can have that conversation in advance. In reality, I should have fired Renee before that. Like, he wasn't a good fit because he would rush. But like, it will happen once with a lot of guys where they will try to cut a corner, and the minute they have to go back and do a redo, they either quit because they're like, oh, this sucks. Like, I can't win, right? Because I'm not going to do a good job. I was just trying to do a fast job. Or that like straightens things up. And I would always tell people when I hired them for any paper performance role, even I do this in our bookkeeping business now. My account managers and my bookkeepers are all paper performance. I remind them all that they have to be fast and they have to be good. You can't be fast and cut corners and not be good, because it will bite you in the ass. It will undermine you because you'll have to go do the redos and you'll lose clients. And especially in a recurring service business, if you lose clients, you have no revenue, you don't make any money. But if you're super good and you're slow, then I have to fire you because you're not productive enough to hit the thresholds that we need to hit in order for me to even pay you well, right? It sacrifices the business model, and we can't have that, even though we're not going to talk about bookkeeping. We know what the percentages are.
10%.
So, yeah, so it's got to be fast and good. You can't be one or the other. And I've also found over time that my best employees are also my fastest employees. Like, they just are. They care more. They know how to move. Right, the ones that are that try to be fast and suck, and the ones that are good and slow, they're never actually the best, and they're never actually the fastest. The best ones that are actually really good at the job, that are the people we're looking for, are usually fast and good by their nature. Like, they just have that skill set. Not everybody does.
Yeah. Let's not talk about recruiting, but we could right now.
No, we got to talk about goal setting. I want to talk about goal setting. That's my topic for the day.
Oh yeah, that's the surprise mystery. We're going to talk about goal setting, but before we do, I do want to finish this pay for performance. So, how do you handle? You have 3 days of rain.
Sucks for everybody, right? Nobody. The business isn't making money, so how is the business going to pay people when it's not making money? One is, who gives a shit? Get your asses out there. Right? Like, if we can, whatever we can do safely, we need to go produce, right? The business should still try to make money. When we're cleaning windows, if it's raining, and I just have this reference from our window cleaning business. If it's raining, we are still cleaning windows, right? We have boots, we have rain gear. Rain doesn't make windows dirty. Dirty houses and dirty windows make windows look dirty. When you clean them, it doesn't matter if it rains. That's not what gets the window dirty. We do have old ladies that fight us on that, but we're like, well, you have no risk, Mrs. Jones. We're going to come and clean it. And if there's spots on it tomorrow, we're going to come back and clean it again. Like, it's not going to cost you anything. So we're coming out to clean your damn windows today, because if we reschedule stuff, that's a future client we don't get to serve. So we're like adamant about working through the rain. Now, if it's lightning, that's a different story, but we have historically found a big storm front like that is over within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't lightning all day. It pushes a big front like that. Lightning's for 30 minutes, maybe. And you might have some waves of it depending on the storm system, but then it's rain after that. And we can just sit in our trucks and wait the lightning out for 30 minutes. We don't need to call the day off, wait it out, and then get back out there and keep working. And there's so many of our jobs that there's still a lot of stuff we can do even when it's raining to be productive and be ready to generate more revenue within the next hour, waiting it out. So
That's
we
cool.
always try to push on that.
We used to have a guy, he was on like a salary type thing. And he would call about 6:30. Hey, are we working today? Why would we not work today? You already have the email. You already know what we're doing. Well, yeah, but did you see the forecast? Like, pay for performance would completely eliminate that. Because I saw the forecast and it's going to be done raining by 8:30. So
yeah, do you want to go make money today? Like, we got work on the schedule. Do you want to make any money today, or do you want a smaller paycheck this week?
Yeah. Okay.
What do you want?
That's awesome. All right, guys. So looking to pay for performance, it's about 10%. So, you figure landscape lighting average job is about 10 grand. So $1,000 for the day. If you're really lean and you want 2 guys to do that, well, sometimes they can actually, but it might take 3 or 4 guys to do that. So you can divvy it up how you want. 3 guys, you might have your foreman get paid a little bit more than your junior technician and your senior technician or whatever. But great way to motivate them. I like it.
Yeah. And the best part about paper performance is it takes what is otherwise a win-lose situation and makes it a lose-lose or a win-win. Right? If you pay somebody hourly, by its own nature, it always becomes a win-lose. In order for you to win as the business owner, you need them to get the job done faster so you can pay them less, which means they're losing. But that's how you make the most amount of money, is when they lose. Vice versa, they win when they drag it out and you have to pay them overtime. That's their incentive, is to make more money that way.
Yeah.
And so they win, but now you lose, right? And so there's this constant tension between the employer and the employee that's really unhealthy. And it stems from the fact that you don't charge your client hourly, right? If you could charge a client hourly and say, hey, Mrs. Jones, we're going to bill this at $200 an hour and it takes as long as it takes. And now I'm going to pay this employee $25 an hour. Well, now you know what your margin structure is, right? You've got it built in. And so you don't have the risk as the business owner, right? And so pay per performance does that. Now, you know, that your clients doesn't want to pay you hourly because they're like, well, I don't know how long this should take. And what if it takes you forever, right? So the client isn't willing to take that risk. And so in turn, we as business owners end up taking the risk if we pay our employees hourly. We have this mismatch between, we have a fixed price to Mrs. Jones based on how many fixtures or whatever we use to get to that price that we give them. But now we have a totally different pricing mechanism for how we price our labor, because we don't price them based on a fixed cost. We price them based on how long it takes them. And now we have the risk because we can't change that price, but this cost input is changing based on how fast these guys are. And pay per performance totally aligns that. Like, you no longer have the risk as the business owner. Now the employee has the risk, which is good. Like, they should have the risk. They should also have the upside, right? If they're pay per performance and they get a $10,000 job done by themselves in a day, go ahead and pay them $1,000, right? Like, hell yeah. That's the best paycheck you could ever write. You'd be thrilled to write somebody that check for $1,000 if they got a $10,000 job done in a day. Awesome.
Yeah. I do like it too, because it's easy as a salesperson or a business owner to get excited about, guys, we just added another 300,000 or whatever, but okay, I'm getting paid the same over here. Now everyone's aligned on the same mission and vision of like, hey guys, what can we do to be more productive? What can we do to be more efficient? I like it.
Yeah. Win-win.
Paul had a good point, and I think the tables have turned. Now it's us saying, are we working today?
I call every day and ask that.
Is it raining? I think a lot of lightning forecasted today. All right. So you were chatting before. I was like, wait, what are we going to talk about? Because I had all this, traditional bookkeeping.
You want to talk about bookkeeping stuff.
ABC, always be Cruton. Goals? I didn't know you set goals, Dan.
I set goals. I set goals, but I'm more interested in observing other people setting goals. And this is like, just, I haven't read a book on this. Like I told you before we went live, I feel like I'm a comedian with some jokes that I haven't, gone up on stage to tell yet. So this is just me testing out some new material. But I expect that the next time you guys see me on a stage, this is going to be like a fully vetted 1 hour long Dan drinking beer in front of you on stage presenting on this, because this is something I'm really passionate about. And it took me a while to get back to this. When I was in the corporate world, I was in a leadership program, and one of the presidents at Cargill, which was the company I used to work for, she was asking me, like, what motivates you? What are you trying to like bring to the table? And my answer was happiness. Right. That's it for me. I'm not money motivated. I'm absolutely joy motivated. Now, like, money is a component of that. As Daniel Tosh once said, you don't see anybody like frowning when they're riding around on a jet ski. But it is true that money doesn't buy happiness. And I've watched it happen. Right. And I get to see it from a bookkeeping perspective. I see who's successful. I see who's not. And it's not actually the money that makes people happy. It's the opportunity and the pride from working through things and solving problems. You'll see it in your employees too, right? Like they're in your kids, right? There's a reason why people that grow up rich aren't any happier. And frankly, like if you grow up with rich parents, but you don't have the chance to earn things, those people are unhappy, right? They have everything they could ever want, but they're just unhappy because they don't have a mechanism to earn pride. And so I always look at goals as, what are we really, really trying to achieve? We set a lot of goals based on revenue or numbers or things that we think we want, but it's not actually the thing that brings joy or happiness all the time. And I have noticed it too in like people's workout goals, right? And things that they think they want to achieve, but they're setting a goal based on a static result that isn't sustainable. Revenue is the perfect example, right? If you say, I want to get to $1 million of revenue. Okay, you get there, then they're like, oh, I guess my goal now is 1.5 million because now I'm here and I actually don't like it, running $1 million business sucks, and I didn't know all these problems were going to be here. And like, there's no happiness derived by being $1 million business. It's just a new set of problems. And then you have to come up with a new goal, and you're just going to raise your revenue goal because I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. But there's no, that person running $1 million business isn't happier than the dude that just started out that's at $100,000. Like, there is no more joy to be had, but it's because they're focusing on the wrong thing. I also see a lot of $1 million business owners that are like not making any money because they're focused on the wrong thing. They're just trying to do $1 million because apparently that's the cool thing to do, and that's what we're supposed to do. I see the same thing happen in exercise. I saw it happen a lot, and I'm not trying to dog on this program, but I saw people suffer depression after doing 75 hard. They would do this static goal that was like, I want to be disciplined and I want to achieve this thing. And whether they did or didn't, if they failed at it, that could really reel them back. But I know people that got through it and would get through it and then be like, now what? Right? Now what do I do? I guess I could do the next part of it. Right? There's like another part of it, but you hit like a static end. And I think that can be risky, is setting a goal with a static end. Not to say we shouldn't have a budget and a lifestyle we want to achieve, but I think the goal setting based on the inputs is more important, because that's the thing we can control. It's when we set a goal based on a result, when we get there, it's like, got it or didn't get it, and now here we are. So one of the things that I tested in my bookkeeping business is to just have one goal, one metric. That's all we track. Of course, like, I track a whole bunch of shit to like see how we're doing, but I only preach on one thing to our team, which is we don't fucking lose any clients. 0 client attrition. That is forever and for always the goal. We don't always hit it. Sometimes our clients go out of business. Sometimes they bring it in-house. We call it graduating. If they get big enough, there's just a point where they bring it in-house. We actually lost 3 businesses to one client that he's like, I just got to bring this in-house because I have 3 different businesses and they're all doing well. And I was like, well, glad we could graduate you. So it's not that we're always going to hit that goal, but a lot of times you don't hit the goal, and that's okay. But it's not a static goal. It's a recurring goal that it is always true. It is always out there to be chased. And so when we hit it, we get to celebrate it. And when we don't hit it, we get to keep working back towards it. And I think that's a super healthy goal in my mind, because it doesn't disappear, right? It's a constant effort. And I think the same could be true in exercise, which is, you could say, my goal is to run a marathon. Well, is it really? Nobody gives a shit if you run 26 miles. But your kids and your spouse probably care if you're fit and in shape. The goal is, I need to work out 3 times a week or 4 times a week, or I want to run this many miles every week, or exercise for this many minutes out of a day or out of a week. Like, that's the goal. It's repeatable. Who gives a shit if you ran a marathon? None of us care, right? Cool for you. But again, after you're done, like, well, now what? And so I think there's, not to say don't do those things. They can be super fun, right? But don't make the goal around a static event that will lead to a now what. Make the goal around the behavior, right? Like, get in the behavior of exercising, because the reason you would run a marathon is just to be healthy for your kids and to live a long time and like enjoy the run. I reference, actually, my in-laws are over right now. My father-in-law back in the day trained for a marathon, completed a marathon, ran it really fast, damn near got divorced. Like, it is the number one thing that Darlene points back to and be like, when you had to do that fucking marathon, right? Like, we had 4 kids, and you're always out running, right? It's like, nobody gave a shit that he did a marathon. Who cares? Like, his wife really cared that he was out running all the time and wasn't there to be a dad with 4 kids. And so it's like, I think that's super important, is what's really the goal, right? The goal got construed into, I need to run farther, because that seems like a worthwhile thing. But is it really just to like be in shape so that I can be a good dad to my kids? Like, I think the static goal tends to mislead us sometimes versus what is actually really important. And I think it's worthwhile to reset our goals back to those recurring themes rather than the static one-time things that don't actually bring joy and happiness, sometimes deteriorate it, like in the case of their marriage.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I've had, I guess, kind of similar. When I read the book Atomic Habits a few years ago, like, I always had this desire to get in shape, but then I would like want to go hard because I'm trying to live someone else's goal or dream or whatever. So you go to the gym, I'm like, rah, 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 and then I can't walk for like 3 weeks. And so I was like, no, I'm just going to do this thing. And I know I can do 20 push-ups a day the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And am I going to miss? Yeah, I've missed days, And then I went from 20 to 21 to 22. Now I'm doing 200 push-ups a day. And I know I can do that every single day the rest of my life. Now, if I miss, then that's on me, but I can do that. I don't have to be at a gym. I don't have to be anywhere. I can be camping. I can do that pretty much anywhere. And that's something that I just like there is no destination for that. Like
Yeah.
now I am training to do a destination thing, which I can talk about as well, but like that's just so I can be in good shape and teach myself discipline. That's literally
Yeah.
the only goal there.
And competitions are still a lot of fun. Like, I'm not saying don't go do a marathon. I did a 10K 2 weekends ago. And they're still fun, but like have them be fun for the right reasons, right?
Yeah.
Don't let those growing a massive business should be fun and not miserable, right? And I watch people do it miserably, right? I see people so focused on the money side of it. And I like this is weird for me to say. I am a money guy, right? I am the finance dude. It is the thing I look at, but it can be very unhealthy when that becomes the driver instead of the joy and the happiness and the lifestyle that you actually want and the marriage you want and the parenting that you want. And it is funny. It's like if you miss a day of doing 200 push-ups, whether you get 0 or 100, well, it's like, okay, tomorrow, do it
It's
tomorrow.
just a reset. It's like I
Yeah.
don't even get guilt. I'm just like, no, I didn't do it.
Yeah, it's not debilitating. It doesn't actually set you back because you can do 200 push-ups the next day, or maybe you do 300 make up for it, right? So,
I don't even do that. Now you're making me feel bad.
well, you don't need to. You can do whatever the hell you want, right? But I
No,
think
it's because I stuck to 200. It wasn't, I'll do 300 if I miss. It's like, no, it's just 200. And if you miss, you
just
miss. Just
just
don't miss
200.
again.
But and I will say I have noticed you're fit. Like every time I see you, you look like you've been doing healthy things. And I think that's the important thing, right? Is like you don't need to enter a bodybuilding competition. We don't give a shit if you enter a bodybuilding competition. But we do care that you're healthy and you show up healthy and that we get to see and hang out with Ryan Lee and that he's fit and his marriage is good and that his parenting is good. Like, and that he's on here teaching us stuff. And health brings a lot of that. It brings a lot of energy. It brings a lot of confidence. It brings longevity. Like that's what the world cares about, right? We don't care about your one-time static thing. Do it because it's fun, right? Do it for enjoyment, enjoy, but don't do it because you feel like an obligation to set a weird ass goal that you're going to get done with and be like, now what?
I think it's really good, dude. This is good material that you're testing on our show because my
Test
show's, this shitty show out there that you're going to just, that no one's going to hear, but you just want to get practice. And then you go to the real stage. I appreciate that, Dan.
Yeah.
No, but it is really good because I, I'm guilty. I'm pretty sure everyone's guilty of it because I think it's social media and you see people who they're freaking young and they build these multi-million-dollar businesses and you're like, damn, what's like, why can't I do that? Like I can do that. I'm going to do that. And then you're like, it's just sacrifice. They had to sacrifice. I'm going to sacrifice. It's okay if I'm not there with my kids, my wife. Like it's like that's what's required. And the truth is, it's not what's required. Like yes, there is a season for everything, but at the same time, like you ask yourself, what has to be true? Well, you need happiness is the thing that's going to like that's why you're doing it. No one really cares about making $1 million. Like like you said, it is kind of fun to ride a jet ski.
It
Like
is kind of fun.
it does put a smile on your face. So money
Just
can
make sure
buy.
your friends have jet skis. It's
Yeah,
miserable to own your own jet ski. They always need maintenance and shit. Like for
that's so
sure,
true.
make sure your
Yeah.
friends have jet skis. That's all you need.
Money can buy happiness. Just have your friends buy it, and then you go on their boat.
Yeah.
But it truly is about like, no, just live in the day, live in the moment. And if it's not fun, if it's not amazing, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Maybe you should do it differently, or maybe you should get a job.
There's I don't know if there's a term like Parkinson's law for this. Maybe this is Plata's law. We're going to
Yes.
call this Plata's law. But there's definitely a thing too where it's like by focusing on the end result, sometimes you actually make it harder to attain, right? Versus focusing on the behavior or the thing that will actually get you there. Like think about sales, right? We all have this aversion to the used car salesman, and our aversion to that is just because they're so concerned on selling us a car, right? Did you ever go into the Buckle in the mall when you were younger, like, or even walk past the Buckle? Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah. I
Like,
was in there last week.
dude, back in the day, man, you couldn't walk by without getting put in a headlock, right? They were so intent on selling you something. It was like the most annoying experience in the world. And it was because they were so focused on the sale that they just forgot about like how to treat a person and be helpful. Like they would just overdo it big time. And so I think sometimes the best way to sell is to not even try to sell anything at all, right? When I'm on a demo, if I don't try to sell them anything at all, they generally sign up, right? It's just expectation setting. I could make it way more awkward by like trying my ass off at selling. But if you do the process right, if you listen to Ryan and how he teaches you to sell it, you don't even need to feel like you're selling them anything, right? You don't focus on the sale. You focus on the process and trying to help them find the solution that's best for them versus, oh God, I got to sell these guys because I need some more money, right? And so I think we can look at that reality in so many different cases of when we set a goal based on revenue and that's all we focus on, we generally don't build it very healthy. We generally don't focus on our employees and our customers the right way, and we're unhappy. I know that. I had a business with 7 unhappy businesses, and I was unhappy running them for 6 years until I repositioned some stuff for me. And I was unhappy because all of our goals were around revenue, right? Like, and even when we talked about employee engagement, it was only so that we could make more money. It was always about making more money, and always. And I'll be dead honest, we sucked. As a result, we didn't make a lot of money. Our businesses were garbage. My fault. That was my leadership, and focusing on trying to make more money caused us to make less money. In this business, I pointed out to our team the other day, we're a year and a half in to Best Damn Bookkeeping, and we just hired employee number 18, and we're working on number 19 right now. We're freaking. I'm not going to talk revenue because who gives a shit about revenue? But like our pace of growth is ridiculous. And again, we have one metric, and that's client attrition. We just don't fucking lose clients. That is it. And we still have a lot of processes to work on, right? We still look at a P&L a lot. I look at mine like freaking daily. Like I want to see if our processes are working. But if I just make sure we don't lose clients, it tells me a whole lot about how we're doing, right? It tells me that our quality is good. It tells me that our team is really happy and they're treating their clients really well. It tells me that our clients believe they're getting value for what we're doing for them and what we're charging. Like it tells me all I need to know about our business. I don't need to worry about our revenue or profit. That happens. That's a result. The driver of everything is super happy clients and super happy employees for us. So I just got to focus on happiness. I don't need to focus on revenue. If everybody is happy, we're doing something right. And like I said, there's so many different situations in our life where we get so concerned about the result that we forget about the thing that is the driver of that result, and having fun along the way, right? Man, if you're your own business and you're a business owner, there's a reason you don't have a job, right? You did it to have more fun, right? Like if having a job in the corporate world was more fun, you could go do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. You chose this path because this was going to be more fun. And I see a lot of people having a lot of fun, but I see a lot of people that aren't having fun and they're miserable. And they're the ones looking at social media posts of everybody else and being jealous about how many trucks they have or how much revenue they say they do or whatever the case is. But they're focused on the wrong thing, right? Their goals are chasing somebody, like you said earlier, they're chasing somebody else's goals instead of what their true goals are.
Yeah. And like I said, I've been guilty of that too. What are some, like, as you're putting this framework together, I guess, what are some inputs that we could focus on that business owners could maybe shift? Maybe they know, okay, this is the trajectory. I want to head this direction. Because like you said, $1 million business, there's a lot that comes with that. And that might not be, it might be to where you need to get for your business to get freedom. But for me, my goal is freedom. You talk about happiness, it's probably the same thing. But I get happiness through freedom from not feeling like I have to go to work. Like if I feel like I get to go to work every morning, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah.
So there's certain stages of different types of businesses and stuff like that where all of a sudden you're like, dude, I have 2 salespeople in place, which means if one is out, one can fill in for them. I have 2 crews. I have like redundancy in my business. There is a spot where like business is really good. And then there's the grind phase. Are there inputs that we can, like, okay, we define what our trajectory is. Maybe we want to get to this size so that we can have freedom, happiness, whatever. but are there specific inputs you've identified that we could focus on?
I would, I do need to build a framework for this, but now my head's spinning on it.
Yeah.
I would generally start with focusing on what makes you happy. And I would look at it in your business, in your personal life, in your marriage, in your family, in your religion, in your hobbies. Focus first on what makes you happy, right? Because frankly, it might tell you that you should go get a job and not have a business, right? If your business makes you miserable, it might immediately tell you either need to like shit or get off the pot, right? You either need to sell that thing and start over, go get a job, whatever the case is. So I'd first start with happiness before you start trying to build something bigger that already makes you miserable. Again, I got caught in that trap for like 6 years of building something where I was like, oh, like this, the thing I wrapped myself into was the same reason I left the corporate world. Like, oh crap, what am I doing here? I mean, we're humans, right? It's a constant evolution and constant learning. So it's like, I don't regret it, right? But lessons learned along the way. So I would start looking at what are the happiness drivers in all these places. Define that first. Then go back and define what are my profit drivers? Like, what are the activities that I can do that are going to go grow my business? There's probably overlap between things that make you happy and things that grow your business. For me, super good example. Like me doing a bunch of bookkeeping stuff does not make me super happy. Me building systems and processes, I'm miserable. And so I'm a business owner, and I'm well aware that businesses are only as good as their systems and processes, and I'm well aware that I suck at it. And so I am not the lead system and process dude on our team. I had to be when I first started, but it was like, man, I got to get that off my plate. Like that is not a thing that drives happiness for me. Going on shows, super fun for me. Talking to clients is a whole lot of fun. I don't even care if I'm getting paid for it. Like I love helping business owners. I said earlier today, I'm helping somebody with paper performance stuff. Now we're talking about goal setting. Anytime I can work with business owners and learn from them and have them learn from me, that's my freaking favorite, right? So it's like, how do I make sure that my day is spent doing things that fill me up where I can also add a lot of value, like it grows our business a ton, but also fills my cup, gives me some happiness.
Yeah, there's a tool from EOS Traction, their hiring tool, Get It, Want It Capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we forget to put ourselves through that as well.
That's a good point.
Like I do all the time. I'm like, shit, why am I not happy right now? It's because I'm doing things that I don't like.
Yeah, I
Because
forgot
I feel like
to
I
get
have
it, want
to.
it. I
forgot.
get it, and I kind of have the capacity to do it, but I don't want it.
Yeah. Like I don't want to do most of the stuff. So I'm like, crap. Like I think if you just run yourself through that tool, you realize you're doing so much stuff on a daily basis that you don't want to. And then it's fun. Like when you can breathe again and you're enjoying life and you get that space, then I think you can identify those inputs. And I love where you're going with this. So can't wait to see when you actually know what you're talking about. But
Right, I'll work on it. I'm gonna be working on it.
I'll come see you on a stage one day. But it really is true because then you can identify these inputs, and this is going to help you with your framework. I don't know how, but it's going to.
Yeah.
And so like if you're trying to build your business and you need another person, well, then what has to be true for you to be able to afford an $80,000 person? Well, you have to make more money. So how do you make more money? You get more sales. Okay. But instead of just like, that's the goal, like to make more money, that's kind of a weak ass goal. So but what would be is if every day or every Thursday you had intention behind contacting referral partners because you enjoyed reaching out to luxurious home builders or interior designers and networking with them. If that was part of your your weekly habit, like you're going to succeed over time. It might be not as fast as you want. You might not get the exact thing, but those are the inputs that lead to long-term results for sure.
Heck yeah. I have I was talking like, I think parenting is similar to this, business ownership is similar to this, health is similar to this. And I mentioned earlier, I ran a 10K a couple weekends ago. I didn't have a goal to run a 10K, but I do have a goal to stay below 200 pounds. And this ebbs and flows. Ice fishing season is always a challenge. You got like 2 months of just sitting static, eating and drinking. And so there's usually a little comeback down to my goal after that. And in the summer, like if I can get it down to below 195 and maybe sniff 190, cool. but like I said, I ran.
Is that preparation for winter? Like get it as
Yeah,
low
I
as
got
possible?
to give myself a buffer
I like it.
zone because I'm
Yeah.
gonna eat it away pretty quick. But like even today, I don't have a goal of how fast I want to run, but I ran basically a 5K today. I ran 3 miles. And I ran like an 8:11 pace, which is like trucking for me. Usually at some point in the summer, I'll get below 8-minute miles, although like I'm hitting 40 now. So I don't know if that's going to keep happening. But it's like, I don't have a goal on, well, I got to run this fast, but I don't need a goal to try to run faster, right? As I get more in shape, I'm just going to run faster.
Yeah.
I don't need a goal to run a certain distance. Again, my goal is I want to be as healthy as I can be. I don't want to get hurt. I've overdone it before where I get hurt, and that's so like self-defeating because you push too hard. Either you lifted too many weights, or you ran too hard, or you sprained your ankle, or whatever. And so I've learned like I need to be in shape, but I also need to be healthy, and like I can't get hurt because I got 3 little kids and I need to be useful. So I try to like keep that in mind of, yeah, I want to push myself, and it's cool if I run fast, but I don't have a goal to run a sub 8-minute mile. Like nobody gives a shit if I run a sub 8-minute mile. Why should I care? Will I run a sub 8-minute mile?
We've got together and we're like, I wonder what Dan can run a mile. Like it's pretty regular weekly we're talking about this.
Yeah, I know. Weirdos. You thought I was a weirdo, clearly.
But I do like it because it's like, okay, well, now you're doing this for you, you're happy. And now just because you want to squat a certain amount or bench or whatever, like now you're hurt and now you can't provide for your family. So when I did my Spartan race, and I've still got more to come, that was my number one goal too, is not to get hurt. People are like, how fast do you think you're going to do it? I'm like, I actually don't give a shit.
Have fun. Don't get hurt.
I'm just going to like go my pace. And, every once in a while, someone passes me, I would run faster to try to catch up or whatever.
Oh, I was going to say, then you stick your leg out and trip them a little bit.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm still competitive, but I just wanted to finish and not get hurt. Yeah. So that was victorious for me. I was like, dude, this is freaking awesome. So I think that's how business is too. You can use the same analogy. Like there's a lot of different ways to get hurt in business and screw yourself up where it's like, oh man, that was a terrible decision. You should have kept your full-time job.
And the business is like the ultimate marathon, right? There is no end. Like, and that's where I think those goals with ends can be so self-defeating because like there doesn't need to be an end. It just needs to be wrapped into what perpetually is going to continue to make the business succeed and drive happiness. And again, for me, it's like, I know if we don't lose clients, my customers, and if we start losing clients, there's more digging to do, right? But if we're not losing clients, customers are happy, employees are happy. Man, if those two groups of people are happy, I sure as hell am happy. And if we're not losing clients and this is a recurring service business, then we're growing like crazy, right? Because Val just checked in. Val has sent multiple people my way. She's a client of ours. And when you do a good job for people, like they also like to talk about you and send people your way. So if we don't lose clients and they like us and they talk about us, we're just going to keep, the more clients we have, the more clients we're going to get. We don't need to worry about revenue. We don't need to worry about like it'll happen, right? Those are the results that will happen. We need to worry about doing a kick-ass job all the time so we never lose clients. That's it. That's all we got to worry about. Simple.
All right, dude. As we wrap up here, and by the way, if you guys want to hear Dan's upcoming goal-setting framework, it's coming soon to a stage near you.
We'll see. It'll be the next presentation I give. It's gonna have slides to it, some pictures.
Wow. This is cool. Dan, the new Dan Plata 2.0 coming at you. But tell us, how do people stay in touch with you? Where do they get a hold of you? Tell us about your podcast, all the good stuff.
So I got the Home Service Happy Hour podcast. You can check that out. Although Ryan, are you aware that I'm banned from Facebook? I'm outed. I'm no longer available on Facebook. I don't exist on Facebook anymore.
Both Dan Platas?
Both Dan Platas. They shut so for those that aren't aware, got hacked. That account got shut down. Thank God, because somebody's trying to like rob people from my Facebook profile with slinging crypto. I created a new Facebook account, but they shut that down for impersonating my hacked account, which I thought was quite hilarious, but also really frustrating. I tried to create a third one when they shut that one down. They shut the third one down in like an hour. So they're just like, they got all my IP addresses on lockdown. And I just don't feel like fighting with them, right? It's like, it feels like in sports where you see like a dude kick another guy in the nuts in a football game. And then the dude that got kicked in the nuts, like steps up and pushes the other guy and they throw that guy out of the game, the pusher. When it's like, no, that guy kicked me in the nuts, but they missed it. I feel like I got kicked in the nuts. I got up and was like, I want a new Facebook account. And they're like, no, you can't have it because you're copying a hacker. So it feels like that, where it's unfair, but there's just nothing you can do about it.
Have you thought about calling it plan data? Or is it really the IP address?
I don't know.
Maybe it was just too close. Did you do two ends on the Dan or something like that?
I tried. I actually did try a few different versions of my name to see if that would sneak past them. But
the funny thing is, I didn't know that happened, and I saw the your real new Dan Plata come, and I was like, hackers. No, I ain't gonna accept this. He's got 14 mutual friends. This is not the Dan I know. But it really was you.
Yeah, and I think partially it was that people flagged that account when I friended them, like, ha, this is a imposter account, right? They didn't know. Yeah. And so, and I grew it really fast because I was like, oh, I got to get my audience back. I got to find all my business owner friends. So yeah, they shut that one down. So if you want to find me, go to bestdanbookkeeping.com and just like book a call with me. Go check out my YouTube channel, Home Service Happy Hour, or Instagram or TikTok. We got Home Service Happy Hour in all the places. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to hang out on LinkedIn, if you're that cool.
Very professional.
Dan Plata on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm there. I'm super professional Dan on LinkedIn. I'm
surprised they haven't kicked you off. Yeah.
Right? Like, I just don't fit in there. I don't know why they let me in the first place. I mean, I joined when I was back in the corporate world. So it's like, I'm grandfathered in probably.
Do you have like a collared shirt on or something?
I don't know what I got.
Yeah, I'll bet you do. You probably have a tie on or something.
Probably something lame. Yeah. Definitely not
the t-shirt, not the t-shirt.
Yeah, not the tee. But
love it. All right. So reach out, guys. Home Service Happy Hour. Check out his podcast. And then bestdanbookkeeping.com. Highly recommend. 10 out of 5.
Holy smokes. That's a good goal. Going for 10 out of 5, baby.
Yeah. Reach out though, guys. Seriously. Dan's been helping a lot in our community the last several years. I know we have tons of clients that are using him and very happy. So definitely recommend him. Bestdanbookkeeping.com. What best?
That's the one. You know
Check it out.com. All right. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you, man. Love it.
Everybody. Set some goals and stuff.